If you are sick of this cold weather like I am, then today's conversation is the one for you. We have two members of the executive committee for Cleveland Kurentovanje, Nicole Kusold-Matheou and CLC's own Caitlin Peterson joining us today. At her professional core, Nicole is a senior digital product manager with nearly 15 years of experience guiding complex e-commerce and technology initiatives for Fortune 500 companies and global brands. Alongside her professional career, Nicole has been a volunteer organizer of Cleveland Kurentovanje since the festival's inception 14 years ago. She's played a sustained role in shaping the festival's arts and culture programming, helping it grow from a grassroots idea into the largest Slovenian cultural celebration in North America. Caitlin Peterson joined the Cleveland Leadership Center in 2025 as the Leadership Cleveland program producer. With a robust background in event management, board relations, and program development, Caitlin offers a wealth of experience managing high-impact programs that foster an engagement within professional organizations. She has long been involved with the Slovenian National Home and Cleveland Kurentovanje Festival. She's done it all, from parade coordination to advocating for the Slovenian culture. In 2024, Caitlin proudly served as chair of the festival. So they're here with us today to tell us a little bit more. So welcome, Caitlin and Nicole.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you for having us. So I will go ahead and get things started. Nicole will be bringing up our slide deck, but thank you for the warm introduction. Today we're going to talk about leading with purpose and how intrinsic motivation built this fabulous festival. But I first want to just start off by a quick introduction, and then we'll go into more details about the event as well. So as Angela mentioned, I'm the program producer for Leadership Cleveland, as well as our Advanced Leadership Institute here at the Cleveland Leadership Center. I also serve as vice president of the Slovenian National Home, which led me to getting involved with the Cleveland Kurentovanje Festival, which is held at the Slovenian National Home. I've been participating with them since 2015. I am a lifelong Clevelander, so I have always just been so excited about getting something like this off the ground and celebrated year after year.
And my name is Nicole Kusold-Matheou. I'm a Slovenian American community member, as was detailed in the bio, also a senior product manager by day, and by nights and weekends, festival organizer for Cleveland Kurentovanje.
So what is Cleveland Kurentovanje? The way we like to describe it is similar to a Slovenian Mardi Gras celebration because it takes place around the same timing as Mardi Gras. The festival was started in 2013 by a small group of volunteers, and we are home to the largest Slovenian celebration in North America. But the festival itself has roots in Slovenia. So Kurentovanje is annually celebrated as a Slovenian carnival event. This event goes on for weeks, where the central figure, who you see pictured on the screen, is the Kurent. And the Kurent is donned with sheepskin fur, feathers, a big headdress, a hedgehog pelt on his club there. But what's most important is the loud bells that he wears around his waist, that once they shake their bells, they chase the winter away, and it's celebration of ushering in spring and celebration of fertility. So this is a nice photo to show you sort of the scale and impact of the festival. So we are able to reach about over 10,000 people every year. We have programming that is online and, of course, in person. So we're getting people from all over the world, actually. We've had visitors from Japan, from Canada, Slovenia, Australia. So really everywhere. The 14th annual festival is taking place next Saturday on February 14th. And this is a photo from past year, the parade that goes down St. Clair. Our mission is threefold, and this is what we focus on is just to promote and celebrate the Slovenian culture and heritage. Cleveland is home to the largest population of Slovenians outside of the country. A lot of people have immigrated and called Cleveland home with a Slovenian background. So chances are, you know someone who's Slovenian, and they're very proud of it. The second part of our mission is to celebrate the neighborhood where the festival takes place. The St. Clair Superior neighborhood has historically been home to a lot of Slovenian Americans. I know my family, when they came over from Europe, that's where they lived. So we like to contribute to that neighborhood too, and just bring about awareness to the neighborhood. And third, and the most fun, is just to have, in general, a good time. So a fun event for everyone. This festival is entirely volunteer run. We have about a 30-member planning committee. Nobody is paid. Not a single person on the committee is paid. We're just volunteer run, but we do follow that mission that I just mentioned with passion so that we can execute the festival. And with that, I will turn that over to Nicole, who's going to talk more about the leadership challenge.
Absolutely. So when we were preparing for this talk, we know that we're in the company of a number of local leaders. And so we wanted to talk about some of the challenges that we faced as an organization and how we, some of the frameworks that we've used to overcome, or at least work towards overcoming those challenges. So here are some of the challenges that our organization has faced. We have no carrots. There is no incentive here. We have no money to throw at people to incentivize them to do more or do better in terms of their volunteer commitments and work towards the festival. Conversely, we have no sticks either, right? Like nobody's going to get fired from volunteering for the festival. We, for a long time had no organizational hierarchy. It was very, flat in a bad way, in which nobody really knew who was responsible for anything. We have a limited amount of time, and everybody here on our committee has full-time jobs, and this is a limited amount of effort that they can put into the volunteerism that they have here. It's also high complexity. You will see as we get into this how many different facets of festival of this nature there are. And so coordinating all of these different people and all of these different things that are happening is really gotten to be extremely complex as the event has scaled. We're all doing things we've never done before. How many of you have coordinated a 300-person parade? How many of you have had to order and size for 10,000 people to drink beer in one day? We're doing things that there are not a lot of people who have ever done these kinds of things before. So there's a certain amount of experimentation and drawing upon the experiences that we've already had to get to a point where we can execute successfully. Volunteer burnout is real, right? So we are constantly trying to work towards a point where we are not chasing away volunteers by overwhelming them with what needs to be done. And again, kind of the scaling. We are always focused on scaling and succession planning. We're going on 14 years now. So we're at a stage of our organization where, we've gone through some of the growing pains, and now we're into fine tuning and optimizing our organization for continued success. So this is a book that I kind of want to draw on as a measure of the framework that we have employed, not explicitly, but retrospectively. This is a great book. It's by Dan Pink. It's called Drive. This is not a new book. I actually have a YouTube link in here. There's like a, under 5-minute YouTube summary of it. And in this book, he elaborates on this concept of, in complex organizational structures, as long as people are making a certain amount of money, and this is really towards the business world, right? As long as people feel like they're generally being paid fairly, then money doesn't really matter at a certain point, right? And I think we can all think about this in our own life when we say, I would never do that for any amount of money, right? Like, it's not worth it to me. And he kind of elaborates on this, like, okay, well, money doesn't always work with people, or the promise of fame, fortune, all the other kind of drivers, or, sticks too, right? Like getting fired or something like that. And so he argues that, in fact, there's motivational factors that are deeply linked to the complexity of tasks to form that are not these carrots and sticks. And he defines motivation in two buckets. One is extrinsic motivation, which is the carrots and sticks, and one is intrinsic motivation. And that is much deeper and much more complex. It's being able to say, I'm doing this because I think it's important. I think it's fun. I think it's rewarding and enjoyable and satisfying. And the goal of me doing this, whatever it is, this can be work, it can be your volunteerism, anything, is coming from within me. And it is to satisfy my basic psychological needs for autonomy, competence, and relatedness. And if you were wondering what that might all mean, I will define it for you here. So this is the crux of the book, right? And also the framework, I would say the crux of our framework retrospectively. Purpose. Well, I'll start with autonomy. Okay. Autonomy means that it's this need that we want to do what we want to do. We want to have control of our own lives and the work that we do, and being able to not be micromanaged or ordered around or told what to do that doesn't really fit within what we actually want. Okay. So that's autonomy. How we, having control on what we do, when we do it, how we do it, and with whom we do it. All right. The next one is mastery. So mastery is the desire to get better at something that matters. We want to improve ourselves. We want to be good at things. Everybody likes it when they feel like, this is my jam. I can totally do this, and I feel good about doing it. And I also want to challenge myself in a meaningful way and progress myself forward. So this is what mastery means. Okay. Purpose. Purpose is kind of what ties all this together. And purpose is defined as the desire to make a contribution to a cause that is greater than myself. So we want to do something that is important, it's meaningful, and it's something I could not do alone. And so when you combine combine all these things, the intersection of this is drive, okay, which we are going to talk about. So how did we execute on autonomy? So I'm going to go through each one of these and relate it to our organization. How did we execute on this concept of autonomy within our organization? Well, first of all, we had a major turning point when we had an organizational structure put in place. Who could have ever imagined that would be helpful, right? Like, we went from everybody thinking that they were responsible for either everything or nothing, to a point where we very clearly defined, here are the roles, here's who's doing all these things. And that made it much clearer on the roles and responsibilities for each volunteer position. So the Cleveland Kurentovanje sits under the Museum and Archives, which is a nonprofit. We have an executive committee, which is 3 of us. And then there's, of the 3 people, one of those is the defined event chair. We also are parallel with our finance and administration team, who keeps our budget in check, and us, staying fiscally responsible and adhering to that. Then we have all of the subcommittee chairs, and the subcommittee chairs I've tried to blow out into this table to show you what kinds of subcommittees we have. So everything like bars, that's the people who are trying to figure out how much beer to order for 10,000 people, right? Sponsorships, entertainment, specific events like the Kurent Jump, food and vendors. We have a royal court, we have a parade, we have cultural programming, merchandise, volunteer management, etc. So all of these subcommittees really are very autonomously run, and they are tasked with, at the beginning of every festival planning session, come up with what you want to do in your festival, role. What is your chair going to do? And there's a lot of flexibility here. People flex between roles from year to year. So, parade, for example, has been handed off multiple times. to different folks who are looking to try something new. And there's a lot of trust here because in order to have autonomy, you have to have a baseline of trust that people are going to do what they say they're going to do in these roles. Okay, so let's see here. Mastery. That was another concept that we talked about, right? So what does mastery mean as it relates to Kurentovanje? It means that people are having the opportunity to learn new skills. Okay, a personal example for me is that I have, for example, never run a several hundred person wine tasting event. Okay. But now I know I can. I have thought through and learned and mastered a lot of event planning and coordination. I am not an events person by any stretch. My background is in IT consulting. Okay. So me having to think through, okay, what's the experience of somebody coming in the door, ticketing, first of all, coming in the door, their experience at the event, and then post event. What does that all look like? And really think about that. And I've learned so much throughout the years. And again, some of that is that graciousness of trial and error here, right? And also autonomy. So I am developing skills myself, as is everybody else on this organization. And we see that benefit, right? We're also having growth opportunities. There's so many opportunities that have come up for many of our volunteer organizers by way of having been involved in the organization. So for another example, there's a lot of people who have gotten exposure to participating at events at the embassy in Washington, D.C. So we've been invited several times by the Slovenian embassy to participate with things, as well as the local consul general in Cleveland here. So some of those things have been growth opportunities because those are experiences that people might not otherwise have an opportunity to be exposed to. All right. And our purpose is non-negotiable. Everything we do ties back to our mission. As Caitlin went through, we have a 3-point mission. All of our programming, all the decisions that we make always are tied back to those 3 points. And this is not like me just saying this. It really is. We're always asking ourselves, okay, how can we get, for example, this year, there's been some new businesses that have opened up in the neighborhood in the last couple of years. How can we leverage them more and get them more involved and provide more exposure to their businesses and provide more business to them as a festival? How can we, continue to elevate that aspect of our mission? The cultural preservation is always a theme with us, and it just really leads to like a lot of community pride, both at the neighborhood level and the Slovenian American community. There's a feeling of inclusion. And outside of the festival, I put some very tangible examples of how we are, building purpose here. We have a WhatsApp channel for our volunteer organizers where people within the group share community events that are happening throughout the year, whether that is a neighborhood meeting, whether it's some sort of Slovenian American event, or something else that has to do with our purpose. At the end of the year, we also celebrate everybody's contributions with a volunteer organizer celebration. I think it's really important to celebrate those kinds of successes and the volunteerism that people have. People, I know for a fact, within our organizing group, call each other up for ideas, for contacts, for introductions, and to help in other parts of their lives, whether that's finding jobs or getting introduced to different organizations or opportunities along the way. So yes, we're focused on the festival, but we're also focused on bringing people up within the mission of our group in many other ways too. And this has all led to real friendships where people can make plans, hang out together, and have fun together. Remember, having fun is also part of our mission. So some of our lessons learned here is that clarity beats control. It is far more important for us in our experience that people understand, what is expected of them and that they can express back what they are capable of giving, in terms of volunteerism, and that they know that that kind of message will be received in a friendly manner, right? Like we're never going to be like, oh, you can't do this. Like, shame, right? So that kind of clarity in a bilateral direction is extremely important. Ownership fuels energy. When people feel like they have that kind of autonomy and that kind of space to work, it really creates a lot of very innovative opportunities for people to really excel at things that they're interested in and want to pursue. System scale passion, we have lots of reusable assets that we've developed over the years so that, like, for example, when it's somebody else is picking up parade again, they can leverage all the other assets that people throughout the years have contributed. In this way, people have a feeling that I can make this work because there's enough information here for me to do something I've never done, but that I think I can do because I feel supported in this way. Feeling heard and seen incites action. We are extremely transparent, with our organizing crew. Every major challenge that we have or concern is openly discussed. Feedback is openly received and vetted, and it just creates a really strong atmosphere of openness, trust, transparency, and that if I have something to say here, it will be considered with weight and I can have an impact in this organization. So hopefully, I know this is a very brief topic and I kind of went through a lot there, but hopefully that kind of gives you some ideas or ideas about how you could employ this framework within your organization. Caitlin, I'll hand it back to you to talk about the rest of the festival.
Awesome. Thanks, Nicole. Everything kicks off this Saturday. So if you are interested in joining in on the fun, please do. We will start with some of the programming that we have throughout the week, but the main festival and parade, like I said, is next Saturday. Throughout the week, we kick things off with the Kurent jump. This is when the Kurents come out of hibernation. So they're sleeping in the mountains all year round, but when they come out for the festival time and dance around a fire, that's taking place Saturday evening, and that is an adults only event at the Slovenian National Home. We have a variety too of virtual events. Sunday, we'll be hosting a cooking demonstration of some great Slovenian foods and a film screening of a movie a Slovenian feature film will take place on Monday through and it'll also be online. That's available as well. So there's an in-person component and an online at CSU. And then throughout the week, more demonstrations. So we're celebrating Prešeren Day in collaboration with the Consul General, and that takes place at St. Mary's. At the Slovenian Home on February 11th on Wednesday, we'll have a Slovenian craft wine tasting, so tickets are still available for that. On the 12th, there is a panel who are going to introduce this exhibit that we've received in collaboration with the Ohio University Voinovich School of Leadership. And it's all about George Voinovich. One of the featured speakers, I just wanted to shout out, is his granddaughter. So a lot of people I've heard gave great feedback of Voinovich who have gotten to work with him. So that's something we're really looking forward to. Additional cultural events. This is on February 13th, sort of a co-event where we're going to talk about masks, and then there's a Learn to Polka night. So those are free to attend, and you can learn to polka from some professional dancers. Then the main festival kicks off on Saturday, starts with our 5K at 9 a.m., and then the parade at noon. But there's a whole variety of things that happen throughout the day. We have a children's village. So it's very kid-friendly if you want to bring your little ones to help scare the winter away. Lots of stages with music, vendors selling Slovenian food. So there's really something for everyone. And that goes on from 10 a.m. to 5:30. At 5:30, we have a traditional burial of the Kurent. It's called the Polka Pusta. So that's always something that's fun to hang out with.
Oops, sorry, I was a slide behind.
That's okay. I would say if you want to get involved, we are always looking for volunteers. They're set up the day before and volunteer shifts the day of. But specifically for this group, if you are an alumni of the Cleveland Leadership Center through any of our programs, we are going to get a group together to march in the parade. So we'd love to have you join us. You can just contact me if you're interested in signing up for that. And last but not least, please stay in touch. Feel free to shoot us an email if you have any questions, or just follow us on social media. We hope we see you there next Saturday.
Great. Thank you both so much. I love that you took this approach of talking about the complications, the challenges involved, the vision that it requires to do something new, and the commitment that it takes to constantly evolve. And if you're going to keep it going for 14 years, there's a lot of creativity that takes. So the leadership on display here is wonderful. So thinking back, what are you most proud of from where you've started to where you are today?
I can start by just saying I just love how more recently this is something that has put Cleveland on the map. I mean, people are coming to our festival from all over the country. We have a group they're from Ypsilanti, Michigan. They come down every year. They make their own costumes because they don't order them from Slovenia like we do, but they make their own costumes and they come down. We've had performers during COVID times from Japan. So it's really making, there's a great awareness that Cleveland is here and it's so unique and we have so many diverse cultures.
I would also add that, for me, something that I'm really proud of is that it brings together people who may not otherwise ever have the opportunity to be together. And I think that in today's, climate, I think that bringing together people and creating the opportunity for community building is extremely important. And especially as the arts and culture, sort of sector of our society face, multiple challenges, I'm really proud that we have been able to make this extremely accessible. All of our programming, especially on Saturday, is free and open to the public. We work very, very hard on accessibility and lowering barriers to entry. And I could do a whole other 1 hour long talk on accessibility for events, but that's for a different time. But that to me is something that I love to see, people coming together who don't know each other, having a great time, and then walking away, and building their own communities. So that's something that I've seen and that really touches me.
Yeah, that's incredible. And you're bringing attention to an area of Cleveland that some people aren't that familiar with and don't know that much about. So talk about how important that is to the overall event as well.
I can take this one. So for those of you who don't know, the St. Clair Superior neighborhood is located generally on St. Clair between, let's say, the 20s to 30s, East 20s, 30s, up to probably up, I think most people keep in mind like high East 80s or so. So basically, if you're driving down St. Clair and then down towards Superior, that's the zone we're talking about. It does include Asia Town. And so this is an area that historically has been part of the Slovenian community. Like Caitlin said, many of our immigrant parents and grandparents, mine included, lived in the neighborhood. But in more recent times, like in the past 30, maybe 30 plus years, has seen significant declines in investment, and it has really become, known for a site where there were a lot of dilapidated buildings and frankly, a lot of poverty. But I think that things are actually turning, and I'm not saying this with like unrealistic rosy eyeglasses. I really do see there is market improvement towards the neighborhood since the inception of the festival. Even we now have a pizza shop. St. Martin de Porres, which is a large high school in the neighborhood, right just a couple blocks away from where the festival was taking place, has announced that they are going to be expanding their school and creating a new student center. So there's small indicators and there's large indicators. We have new housing going in to the neighborhood. And, these are things that have been sorely needed, but have failed to kind of launch. But more recently, it really has happened. And so we like to contribute to the best of our abilities, right? Like, let's be realistic here. A 1 week festival is not going to change substantially the economic abilities of those who are in this neighborhood. But what we can do is continue to talk about the value of the neighborhood and all the people in it who make it a place that is worthy and important to our Cleveland civic life.